What's up, guys? We're going to go through some bets. So let me share my screen. So we'll kind of look at, all the major platforms, Underdog Fantasy. We got some plays open. But we'll also look at PrizePicks, ParlayPlay, Hot Streak, kind of all the sports books. So there's actually some good value on Hot Streak right now, which isn't a book, that we'll spend a lot of time discussing. But there's some good plays on the arbitrage tool. So essentially, whenever arbitrage exists, right? Arbitrage means, you can bet the over and the under on two sports books and make a risk-free profit. So you can see here, you have a little arbitrage play in Nick Bosa sacks, and it looks like the line just moved from -130 to -140. But essentially, like, you can use this tool to find good bets, right? Like, you can imagine if we could get the Ravens +6.5 on one book and the Steelers -6.5 at +110 on another book. Obviously, this isn't the case. The Steelers are underdogs, but that's just an example. Is if we put $100 on both sides, we're always going to win 110 and lose 100, right? If the Ravens cover +6.5, we'd win 110 on Ballybet. We would lose 100 on Fliff, so we would make $10. And then the opposite if the Steelers win. So long story short, whenever arbitrage exists, one of the bets has to be profitable. So right now, as an example, we have the hottest player in the NFL, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fade him +200 to not score a touchdown, right? So you can see +200. Most of these books, they don't have two-way markets. Most of these books, they only have one-way markets. They don't let you bet the under on a player's touchdown line. But you can see, no other book is giving us better than +155 on the under. And a lot of books have the over at -190. So long story short, this seems like a good play to go with. And so does Justin Jefferson to not score a touchdown at +125. So a lot of times the values on the under, for these player touchdown markets, and they actually moved it down slightly. So we could also look at Tyreek Hill. +128 to not score a touchdown. And then we have McCaffrey. So this is a little fade parlay, 200 to win 1.1K. So you can see here, right? Tyreek Hill is an arbitrage bet to Fliff, +128 on the under, him to not score a touchdown. No other book is offering better than -110, just kind of finding this on the arbitrage page. So we know one of these bets has to be profitable. Altuve under 1.5 hits also looks good. So we might as well throw that in while we're at it. Altuve under 1.5 hits, and then this is at a 1.4 payout. So it's a little confusing sometimes on Hot Streak, like what does 1.4 mean? So for some reason, they put their odds in payout form. So if we go over to a little calculator, we can pull up a little odds converter calculator. So they put everything in payout form. So 1.4, right, in decimal odds, which is what they have, that just means -250, which is a little confusing. I'm not sure why they do it. But regardless, this seems like a pretty solid play to go with. So, well, what did they end up moving now? What the fuck? So we got to go back to Hill. Did they end up moving Hill down? Hill down is fine. And then McCaffrey, we're still getting him. Damn. You can see they already bumped down McCaffrey to +158 odds. What? I'm logged in. Oh, man, they're going to make me log in. So anyways, maybe we'll skip that play on Hot Streak, whatever. Let's go over to PrizePicks. Super annoying, but regardless, there are some good bets on Hot Streak. I can actually just, let me log in quickly. Got to put in my phone number, and let's see if this works. And then we'll find some bets on kind of like PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy. I just want to log in. I'm not sure why it's not letting me log in. Are we logged in? So let's go here. And what the fuck? Anyways, we'll skip over Hot Streak. I don't know why I can't figure out how to log into this sports book. So let me share my screen. Yeah, it keeps logging me out and then saying play now, and then is trying to make me register. I have an account. But anyways, let's go back here. Let's take a look at Underdog Fantasy, PrizePicks, kind of platforms like that. So what I can do is if we're not going to find any bets on Hot Streak today, let's just kind of get rid of it. And you can see there's some crazy bets on FanDuel right now in soccer. So if you use FanDuel, I'm going to try to focus on the books that are legal, kind of everywhere. Like Fliff is legal in basically every US state. But I mean, look at like, what are they doing, right? In this EPL game, you can see like every other book is pricing this under at like plus 120, right? You're literally creating your own promos, your own odds boosts, your own Taco Tuesday, however you want to think about it, when we're kind of finding this crazy value in the market. But what we can do is let me head over to the Fantasy Optimizer and let's start taking a look at Underdog Fantasy. This can be the first platform, we kind of start out on. Oh my God. And you can see there's some esports line discrepancies. So esports has been, pretty fucking crazy recently. And obviously it's not a sport, I'm not going to act like it's my favorite sport to watch or anything like that. But what's great about esports is there's games every day. So the books have a lot of surface area, kind of to cover. They have a lot of lines to keep in check for esports just because there's so many games. All these books are trying to set lines independently. And sometimes they screw up, right? So where is this player? Who are we looking for? So let's go back here. Oh, this is Valorant. So Valorant play, right? But unfortunately, the thing that kind of stinks about esports is you just don't have a ton of data points. There's not a ton of books posting lines. So sure, here we have this crazy discrepancy, kind of between Underdog Fantasy 58 and then PrizePicks 55. But like there's only 2 books posting lines. So it's not necessarily clear like, okay, what's the good bet? But what you could do is you could middle bet this, right? You could always bet the over 55 on PrizePicks, under 58 on Underdog Fantasy. It's kind of like buying a stock for 55 bucks and then you go ahead and you sell it for 58 bucks. But we'll skip over that for now. Let's kind of focus on college football, maybe something like that. But anyways, good bets on FanDuel you can take advantage of, but let's focus right now on Underdog Fantasy. So let's pull up Underdog and let's see what's out there. So the first play it's recommending is Mac Jones under 9.5 rushing yards. So you can see this play right here, kind of on the positive EV tool. Mac Jones obviously has played horribly recently. But we can take a look at this. So again, the way that Underdog Fantasy works that makes it, a kind of interesting platform is they have fixed payouts, right? Which is obviously different from a traditional sports book like, kind of FanDuel. FanDuel, there's a bunch of odds. There's a bunch of numbers, right? Like you're betting 100 to win 530 if you take the Giants money line. On, Underdog Fantasy, they just have fixed payouts. You take the over, you take the under, you're getting a 3x payout. So basically the strategy for beating Underdog, because they don't change your payout based on you selecting over versus under, is you want to look for spots where books have the under heavily favored, right? So if you look at Mac Jones, all the sports books, especially the sharp sports books, Bet Online and Pinnacle, are known to be 2 of the sharpest bookmakers. They have Mac Jones pretty heavily favored to go under, 9.5 rushing yards. Pinnacle has ripped him down to a minus 153 favorite. So all these books are telling us like, Mac Jones is more likely to go under as opposed to over. And because not a lot of books have dropped Valorant lines yet. Not that a bunch are gonna, but there's just not a lot of books with Valorant lines. Let's get rid of that play for now. And we have our first play, Mac Jones, under 9.5 rushing yards. And I'm just gonna, try to crank out a bunch of plays here. So the next play OddsJam is recommending, is Lamar Jackson over 26.5 passing attempts. So how do we feel about this? Lamar Jackson over 26.5 passing attempts. Here we have the 6:30 game. The Jags are a little surprising. They're only 5.5-point underdogs, or over 25.5 passing attempts. So again, like we like this play on Lamar. So essentially the strategy for beating Underdog Fantasy is I can pull up my little spreadsheet. I made this little spreadsheet kind of breaking down Underdog Fantasy, their payouts, stuff like that. Is what you're going to see is the best slip type are these 3-pick entries or 5 picks with insurance. But Underdog Fantasy pays out 6x for 3-pick entries. Whereas if you look at PrizePicks, right, they only pay out 5x. So it becomes pretty clear that Underdog Fantasy, if you look at these other platforms, like they give you a pretty good payout on these 3-pick entries. So what you're going to see is in these 3-pick entries, again, they don't change your fucking payout based on you selecting over versus under. Any 3 picks you select, you're going to be getting the same payout, right? 6x. So it all boils down to what percentage of your picks can you win. And basically, if you can win these over-unders like Mac Jones, over-under, 9.5 rushing yards, if you can win these plays above 55% of the time, which I'm not going to say that's easy, right? If you want to have an 11% ROI on Underdog, you have to win these over-unders like Mac Jones, over-under 9.5, 57% of the time. Meaning you win 57, you only lose 43% of your picks, which you can do, but it's not super easy. So why do we like this play on Lamar? It's, the question is, why do we think this pick is winning above 55, percent of the time, which would make it profitable in an Underdog fantasy entry? So what we can do is we can go over to FanDuel. We want to put weight into all these sports books, right? FanDuel is a, multi-billion-dollar company. You need to put weight into their odds. They have sophisticated models, better data feeds, better models than we have, right? It's a $10 billion company. Their full-time job is setting lines. So we want to use their lines. Even if you don't use FanDuel, you want to use their lines, as a source of information. So they have Lamar's line 2 passing attempts higher at 27.5, right? We're getting 25.5 on Underdog. So all these data points in the market make it pretty clear. Jock Market has Lamar at 26, right? So all these data points kind of make it clear, getting Lamar, over 25.5 on Underdog seems pretty good. So if you look at DraftKings, the other major sports book, they also have Lamar's line at 25.5, right? But you're going to see they have the over super heavily favored, minus 160 favorite, big favorite, right? Not a small favorite. That's a big favorite. So that's exactly what you're looking for. So on Underdog Fantasy, really the two ways to get an edge are you want to find spots where Underdog has a line too low relative to the rest of the market. Like here, it's like Lamar, FanDuel has his line 2 attempts higher. So it's okay, 25.5 seems pretty good. DraftKings, there's no line discrepancy, but they have the over super heavily juiced to minus 160. So all these things make us realize this play's winning above 55% of the time. So it's profitable in an Underdog, fantasy entry. So that's cool. And we have our first play. What else do we want to look at? Some of these plays I've already bet. Like Cameron Ward, I think this play's amazing, but I already fucking bet it, so I'm not going to be able to rebet it. I'm honestly surprised it's still available, right? So again, any pick in an Underdog entry, if you haven't gone with this, winning above 55% of the time is going to be good to go. So you can actually take a look, right? Like if you go over to college football and we go to the UCLA game, where are you? So if we go to the UCLA game, where is it? Where is it? UCLA, University of California, California. What the heck? Am I going crazy? This is UCLA versus who? Who are they playing? Washington State. Why can't I find this game? Washington State. I don't know. I don't even see this game on FanDuel. What the heck? Oh, here it is. Oh, it looks like the game's about to start. So that makes sense. So we're not even going to be able to bet that anyway. So let's get rid of that. But FanDuel had his under at, super heavily favored. All these books did, like minus 150. Diggs over 6.5 receptions, I also thought was really good. But unfortunately, I already bet it, and Underdog Fantasy has pretty crappy betting limits. Trevor Lawrence, under 36.5 passing attempts. But some of these plays I've already went with. Haynes King, under 1.5 passing touchdowns. This is another good one that you could include in your entry. Again, I've already bet it. You can see it. I got this play right here on Cameron Ward. If you're able to bet it quickly on Underdog, maybe lock that in as your third pick. Haynes King under 1.5, I also think is good. So if you go to the Georgia Tech game, you'll be like, damn, that's pretty crazy value you got that you can still get, right? It's still available. Is if you look at passing TDs, he's a huge, right? He's minus 186 to go under. He's a huge favorite to go under. So even if you love Haynes King, you think he's going to go over, you have a ton of billion-dollar companies. All these sportsbook setting lines are telling you he's a lot more likely to go under. So, just following the data, kind of finding plays with an edge on Underdog Fantasy. But what we can go with is Richardson under 9 rushing attempts. So if you take a look at Richardson's line, so if we go to rushing attempts, you can kind of take a look at Richardson. You can see PrizePicks has the line at 8.5, you know. All the sports books have the line at 8.5. So all these things kind of make us realize, like, okay, like we found a play with an edge on Underdog Fantasy. You know, most of these bets on Underdog suck, but OddsJam is kind of scanning. You know, there's tens of thousands of lines on Underdog Fantasy. Most of these plays suck, right? You're really trying to find those few spots of gold where we actually have a play with an edge, right? Where we can actually find a play with an edge. So this will be the 3-pick entry I lock in. We have Richardson, Lamar, Mac Jones, 3 picks, all NFL, that we can go ahead and lock in for today. So a lot of people will be like, yo, like, oh, you know, I only want to place one underdog slip a day. But on Underdog, my max bet size is only $100. So even if I had like a 10% ROI on Underdog Fantasy, that's $10 a day, right? The hard part really is getting down the volume, getting down a bunch of good bets. It's just like a poker player. You don't go to the table and play one hand and then leave the table, right? Like if you're better than the other players, sometimes you may get dealt 2-7, you may lose, but you know, you want to play as much as possible. So anyways, Carson Beck is a promo on PrizePicks. I already locked this in, so I'm not going to be able to again. But there were some pretty good plays kind of available on PrizePicks. So what we can do is let's just refresh this and let's start to take a look. And we can get rid of Valorant for now. Okay. You know, just because there were only 2 data points. Again, this play on Carson Beck is obviously very good. All the other sports books have his line at like 270. You could always middle bet this if you wanted to, right? You could take Carson Beck. You could take him under on Underdog Fantasy, over on PrizePicks, right? You have this 39-yard gap where if he has 231 to 269 passing yards, we're going to win both bets. So that's an option. But I didn't end up hedging. But what we can do is let's just kind of look for some plays that look good on PrizePicks. Who has the worst betting limits? I have the worst betting limits possible. So the first play it's recommending is Goff to go under. Obviously, this game is projected to be a blowout. You know, the Panthers are like, 10-point underdogs. And again, it's free to browse odds on OddsJam. So, finding value in the market, you can do it completely for free. Just pulling up games, kind of hunting around the market, all these different lines. You really never know where the sports books are going to screw up, right? Like FanDuel has all this crap you can bet on in all these games. Same with Underdog Fantasy. Is you're really like a, detective or a hedge fund, however you want to think about it. You're hunting through all these lines, trying to zone in on plays that actually have an edge that you can justify with data, right? So anyways, let's start out here. The first play it's recommending is Hunter, right? And I'm not going to be able to play this play on Carson Beck again, but the first play recommended is Hunter under 4.5 receptions. So it's kind of like, okay, like why do we like this play? So we can go to the Cal game and we can kind of take a look just at, what are the sports books saying? And again, like even if a lot of people will be like, oh, I really like Jeremiah Hunter. It's like, then skip the play. You can always find plays that are positive EV that have value that also align with your sports opinion. Obviously, I follow a very data-driven approach, but you don't have to. So you can see Jeremiah Hunter, all the books flip right here, right? He's a huge favorite to go under. He's minus 155 to go under. So again, just like Underdog, PrizePicks they give you the same damn payout, based on you selecting over versus under, right? You're always getting a 3x payout. So there's really 2 ways to beat them, right? The first way is you find crazy line discrepancies, like this play on Carson Beck, which is obviously good. I mean, it's a promo. Unsurprisingly, it's going to look really good. But if we take a look at Carson Beck, it's like, okay, like PrizePicks has his line at 230.5. ParlayPlay is all the way up at 273.5. So that would be a 43-yard middle. And what you have to remember is his line is centered around 270 yards. Like this guy's not going to throw for 20 yards and he's not going to throw for 1,000 yards. So the yards in the middle, like those 40 yards or 43 yards between PrizePicks and ParlayPlay, 230.5 to 273.5 are super impactful. So you could always like bet the over here, bet the under here. But anyways, what we can do is we can go here to, so again, like the strategy is the same on PrizePicks. That's what I was saying, right? It's just like Underdog Fantasy, except again, their payouts are slightly different. Like Underdog gives us a 6x payout, for 3-pick entries. PrizePicks is only 5x. So the only thing that really changes is like, okay, like how many picks should we go with? And on PrizePicks, it's 5-pick entries. So you're going to see, right, Jeremiah Hunter, all the books have his under heavily favored. So this plays winning above, 54.25% of the time. So it's good to go. It's profitable in a PrizePicks entry. So we can refresh this though. And we can kind of take a look at everything. So we have Jeremiah Hunter, and it's like, okay, that's great. Patrick Mahomes, under 4.5 rushing attempts. So then we can go over to football. Again, sometimes these slips look so random, but wherever there's value, that's where I will be betting. So if you take a look at Mahomes, PrizePicks has his line at 4.5. Okay. What about Underdog? They don't even have a lineup yet. For his rushing attempts, they have lines up for Mahomes. ParlayPlay has his line at 4. And then all the sports books, you can see here, they all have his under super heavily favored. So it becomes clear that, like, okay, PrizePicks would give us the same damn payout if we take him to go over or under. So why is the under winning above, 54.25% of the time? Is pretty simple. If we just go over to the Chiefs game, we can kind of take a look at all the sportsbook data, which OddsJam is just reading in, very simple tool. It's just reading in data, pointing out value in the market. So if you look at rushing attempts, where are you? Mahomes is minus 154 on Caesars to go under. So he's a big favorite to go under, right? So that's why this is a good pick, that we could possibly go with on PrizePicks. So there we go. So we have, 2 plays now. Josh Allen under 6.5 rushing attempts. So this is just an unders parade, but it's the same logic, same reasoning. So we can go ahead here. And, again, there's all this crap we can bet. We're really trying to zone in, right? On, okay, where are those plays, where we can actually justify having a win rate above 54.25%, which makes our plays profitable in a PrizePicks entry. So we can look at Moss. And this play actually looks even better on ParlayPlay. But you can see basically every other sports book has his line at 46.5. There's some discrepancies in the market. But you can see ParlayPlay, this play looks even better. So maybe we just play this on ParlayPlay. So we can start building this on ParlayPlay, right? Under 55.5 rushing yards. And what's cool about ParlayPlay is you can bump lines kind of in your direction. Once per day only, it's like a promo. But I mean, that's crazy, right? 55.5, 46.5. Hit the over 46.5 on Fanatics, under 55.5 on ParlayPlay. You win both bets if he has 47, to 55 yards. That's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. A 9-yard middle. But anyways, let's go back here to PrizePicks. What else you got for us? So we got Mathis, tackles plus assists in the Jets game. The Jets suck, which probably means the Broncos cornerback won't be on the field often against our boy Zach Wilson. But I mean, it's the same strategy. You can see all the books have his under heavily favored. ParlayPlay even has the line lower at 4. So all these data points make it pretty clear, like, okay, like this PrizePicks play is winning above, 54.25% of the time. And that's a good play to go with. And then the final play we have is Chris Boswell, under 5.5 kicking points. So, man, we got all unders, which is hard to argue with. And the only thing I like to make sure is, no picks from the same game. When you're betting things, on PrizePicks, because they have fixed payouts, right? Like, it would make no sense to take Diggs, over and like Josh Allen to go under, right? This would make no sense to take in a PrizePicks slot. They're going to give you the same payout if you take Josh Allen to go over or under. So if you want to take Diggs over, obviously you should be taking Allen over. That's his quarterback, right? If Diggs goes over, Allen probably went over. Or they're highly correlated, outcomes. So we want to say screw that because we don't actually want to bet that. And we want to take Boswell under 5.5 kicking points. And this can be nope. And this can be the first play we go with. So you'll see, unfortunately, what sucks about PrizePicks is they just absolutely crappy betting limits on PrizePicks right now. So this is the first pick we can lock in for today. One play for tonight. Hopefully we get a win. By the time we're up, I mean, this game starts at 6:30. Screw that. Not going to be up. Hopefully we wake up with 2 wins. And we'll be good to go. So anyways, some good value on PrizePicks. And you could include that play on Carson Beck, obviously, if you wanted to. Let's go. We can go back to Underdog. And we can also check out Fliff. Why not? So we can check out Fliff. So let's get rid of WinBet quickly. So some of these plays I've already locked in, but I mean, like, you know, the strategy is a little different when you're betting on these fixed payout platforms, right? Because there's no odds, right? There's no odds on Underdog Fantasy. It's just any 3-pick entry you make, you're going to, you know, whatever. Any 3-pick entry you make, you're going to get a 6x payout. So the strategy is a little different, but when you're betting on, you know, traditional sports books like Fliff, it's pretty simple. Just like find some value in the market. So you can see there's some pretty good plays out there. Right? Like, you know, DeAndre Hopkins over, you know, over 4.5 receptions. It's like every sports book has his over heavily favored, right? Pinnacle has him -150 to go over, and they've ripped odds towards his over. So all these books have him pretty heavily favored to go over. So it's like, okay. And I think that play on Juju is really good. I just, you know, I already locked it in. So if you take a look here, you can see I already locked it in. This play on Smith-Schuster, his under 2.5 at +115. But this play on Hopkins seems very good as well. So we might as well go back here and we might as well place our bet. So we can go over to the Titans game. And this tool is just the positive EV tool. This works more for, you know, traditional sports books, Fliff, FanDuel, DraftKings, all sorts of stuff like that. So we can go over to, you know, whatever, player receptions. And we can lock in Hopkins, right? At 20, you know, I don't have that much money left in my account. And I'll also use these coins, which they have fake money and real money. So on Fliff, this is fake money. Fliff coins, Fliff cash is real money. $1 in Fliff cash. It's a little confusing, but what's nice about Fliff is, again, this sportsbook's legal basically everywhere in the US. And this play on Juju is amazing, right? Like all these books are pricing. No other book is even giving us plus money. And we're getting +115 on Fliff. Like that's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So you can see like Caesars, for example, you know, this is kind of how you think about the edge on your bet. So if we go here, you know, we can make a little spreadsheet and we can kind of talk through like, you know, how to think about the edge on this bet. So Juju, his under 2.5 is +115 on Fliff, right? So Juju under 2.5, let's say you put down $100 on that, you know, at +115 odds. So what you want to think about is like, okay, like, you know, what is the probability this wins? You know, so we're betting 100 to win 115 in profit, you know, so like profit if win is going to be 115 bucks. So we have stake bet odds, right? Whatever. This hopefully makes some sense. And then we can kind of go through like, okay, like what's the deal? So we want to know like what percentage, you know, how often is this pick going to win? Like what is the win probability for this bet? Obviously, when you're placing bets, everything boils down to what percentage of your bets are you going to win, you know, given the odds. So if you go to what's called a no vig calculator, what this calculator does, it's the most important calculator by far in sports betting, is it takes a sportsbook's market and then tells you the win probability for the bet. So for example, for Juju, Caesars has his over at -117, same with the under. They're giving you the same odds on the over and the under, -117, -117. So essentially, Caesars is telling you, and this should make sense, you know, if a sportsbook is giving you the same odds on the over and the under, they're saying we're fucking indifferent, right? It's 50-50 to occur. He's 50% to go over, he's 50% to go under, right? They're giving you the same odds on the over and the under. So the win probability for the over is going to be 50%. The under is 50%. It's 50-50 to occur. That's what it means when a book is giving you minus 117 or the same odds on both the over and the under. So that means the fair line is plus 100 and we're getting plus 115 on flip. So let's just say Caesars is smarter than everyone else, which obviously isn't true. You know, there's tons of data points in the market. You never just want to consider one sports book. But let's just say like Caesars is, you know, definitely right? You know, they're telling us it's the same odds on the over and the under, which we know that means their model, Caesars Sportsbook's model, is saying both the over and the under are 50% to occur. This is a $10 billion company. You need to put some weight into their odds. They're saying the over and the under are 50-50 to occur. So, okay, basically, if our unit size is $100, next you can think about your edge, which is your profit margin. So if Caesars is right, 50% of the time this bet's going to win, we're going to win $115. The other 50% of the time we're going to lose our stake of $100. So the edge on this bet would be $8 or 8%, right? It's like flipping a coin where you win $115 if it shows up heads, you lose $100 if it shows up tails. But regardless, plus 115 is crazy good value. And you can do this for any other sports book, right? So like FanDuel, you know, or DraftKings, whoever, you know, FanDuel is a little different. They're like, nah, you know, this is minus 120. They're, you know, FanDuel has the over a little favored. So Caesars, their model is saying, yo, the over and the under are 50-50 to occur. FanDuel has the over very slightly favored, minus 120 favorite. So if you put that into a no vig odds calculator, it's just going to say, you know, according to FanDuel's model, you know, this play is 51% to win. The over is 51.46% to win, which means the under, which is our bet, is 48.45% to win, right? So then loss percentage is just going to be, you know, 1 minus this. So then the numbers change slightly, right? According to FanDuel, this bet doesn't have $8 an edge. It has, 49% of the time we're going to win $115. 51% of the time we're going to lose our stake of $100, and our edge would only be $4. So you can kind of do this for every sports book. But long story short, regardless of what book you look at, or if you care about the math or not, it's pretty clear Fliff is giving us some damn good value on Juju under 2.5 receptions. Let's go back to Underdog Fantasy. Let's see if they have any TD lines up. So we can go back to the NFL, and we can kind of take a look. So like Travis Etienne, for example, it's like, okay, like what's the deal with him? Is he more likely to score a touchdown or to not score a touchdown? So we can kind of pull up the sports books. Damn. And you can see he's pretty heavily favored to go under, right? Like Hot Streak has him as a minus 155 favorite. The annoying thing is most sports books only post one-way markets on touchdown scores. So what I mean by that is like, you know, if you look at ETN here, DraftKings is giving you plus 110, which is an underdog price, right? Plus 110 means he's an underdog to score according to DraftKings. You're betting 100 to win 110. But they don't let you bet on him to not score a touchdown, right? So it's kind of like, okay, you know, you kind of have to assume the odds on their under are probably going to be like close to Hot Streak, right? Hot Streak has the under at minus 155. But they have the over at plus 106. So DraftKings, if they were posting odds on an under, would probably be like minus 155. We can actually see too, if like, you know, this website is kind of interesting. It's called the Betfair Exchange. And what it shows you is kind of like, this is like a peer-to-peer betting site. And sometimes they don't have any touchdown score lines up, but you can see here, right? Like it's just peer-to-peer betting. Right. So you can see, you know, there's a ton of, it looks like there's, you know, $26,000 being, you know, that you could bet on this peer-to-peer betting site. Well, what's interesting about it is because it's not US, you can look at odds for like, you know, basically anything. So this was fucking crazy to me. I didn't even realize is Trump is the most favored candidate to win the 2024 election, according to European sports books, right? According to betting markets. So regardless, we found this play on Travis. So it's like, okay, all these chili peppers suck. You know, I've looked at them. They suck. But we can look at Diggs to not score a touchdown as well. So you can see Diggs, not as much value. The market's kind of like split. I mean, not as clear value as ETN being a clear underdog to score. So it's like, whatever, like we don't want to go with Diggs. And all these chili pepper ones suck. Kamara, no way. There's no way Alvin Kamara can be favored to score a touchdown tomorrow. Come on. Yeah, you can see he's a huge underdog. DraftKings has him plus 130, right? Plus 130. So this play seems crazy good. And again, these plays are not going to show up on the optimizer. The optimizer requires there to be a certain number of data points to show a bet. But what sucks here is in the NFL, most of these books like DraftKings, again, they have Kamara as a huge underdog to score, but they're only one-way markets, right? They're not showing you odds on an under. So the optimizer, isn't picking them up. So I'm just looking at, this tool right here, the sportsbook screen, to just kind of like take a look at the entire market, take a look at, where all these books, have value. So it looks like there's some pretty damn good TD lines up. So we have Kamara, and it's like, okay. Any other crazy plays we have? So all these chili pepper ones suck. The Dolphins ones were not good when I checked. Henry, let's take a look at Derrick Henry. How do we feel about Derrick Henry? So Derrick Henry is actually a slight favorite to score. He's actually a pretty big favorite to score, minus 145, only minus 125 on, score, but he's a decent favorite to score a touchdown. So we can see, are there any other TD lines that aren't this freaking, Bijan? So we've had some big wins on these under. So Bijan is a slight favorite to not score a touchdown. But again, you want to see big favorites to not score a touchdown. You don't want to see slight favorites to not score a touchdown. So what we can do is we can go here back to underdog, and let's just keep looking. Anything else? See if there's any last TD. DeAndre Swift. Is Swift favored to score a touchdown or not score a touchdown? He's pretty big favorite to not score a touchdown. So this play also seems decent. I mean, you can see minus 165. Not a ton of books offer, odds on and under, but you can see Fliff has him minus 170 to not score a touchdown. The score, minus 165. Hard Rock, fuck it. So we got a lot of bets on unders on Underdog Fantasy, but hey, that's just how it goes sometimes. And then we'll head over back to PrizePicks or Fliff. But we can see, we're starting to create a kind of good slip. So we have Williams. What about Chase? Let's check out Chase. I mean, Underdog usually posts these TD lines later in the week, and sometimes they're very good. So we wanted to see Williams. Slight favorite maybe to not score a touchdown, but not as big as the other one. But we want to see Chase. I can't imagine Chase being favored to score a touchdown. No, he's a huge underdog. He's a fucking massive underdog. Minus 185 on Barstool, minus 195 on Fluff. Absolutely insane. So anyways, is Hot Streak going to let me log in, or what was the deal here? So we want to take Chase's under as well, which is crazy, but hey, that's where the value is. That's where I'll be placing my bet. So we have Jamar Chase, which is such a, not a fun slip to go with. We're going to have a lot of unders, but hey, we've already hit a few of these. I hit last week on Hot Streak. I'm just not sure why the site is so janky and, isn't loading. We have James Conner. Isaiah Pacheco. No way. No way Pacheco's favored to score a touchdown. We can see, though. So, again, we're just kind of looking for, let's go here to player touchdowns. And let's take a look at him. Oh, my God. So you can see Pacheco is a huge underdog to score as well, right? Fliff has him minus 170. All these sports books have him as a big underdog to score a touchdown. So I'm not really sure what they're doing right here, but Pacheco's good. Jefferson, there was no value. So like we'd want to avoid this play on Justin Jefferson. If you look at Justin Jefferson, right? He's like, he's actually a little favored to score on these sports books, but only a little. So we don't want to take his over. I'm not saying take his over, but he's only minus 130. So there's no value there. I mean, we already have 5 picks, which I will lock in here in a second. You can see, Tony, he's a slight favorite to go under. That's another decent play you could go with. There's a lot of TD lines where the value's on the under on Underdog Fantasy. You definitely don't want to take McCaffrey from what so we definitely don't want to take McCaffrey. So it's like, okay. Jacobs, oh my gosh. So Jacobs, I can't imagine Adams is favored to score a touchdown. No way. Jacobs, there's no value though. Minus 120. Right, Fliff is giving us the same odds on the over and the under. Again, on Underdog Fantasy, we got to win our picks 55% of the time to be profitable. So we got to win our picks 55% of the time. So if the sportsbook's giving us the same odds on the over and the under, that means he's like even money, right, to score a touchdown. Hard Rock, he's 50-50. So that's not going to cut it, right? If you only win 50% of your picks on Underdog, you're getting screwed. You're losing a ton of money, right? So anyways, we can go back here and we can take a look at Devontae Adams and we can see how we feel about this play. I can't imagine. Maybe he is favored to score. No, there's just not a ton of value. I guess he is. Fliff doesn't even have a lineup yet, but there's not a ton of books that I guess have lines up for Monday Night Football. So anyways, this is a 5-pick entry, just an absolute fade parlay. Hot streak still not loading. Then maybe we can go ahead and we can lock in. So we got an $100 entry on Underdog Fantasy. So I've already hit my $100 limit on Swift and Chase. So I'm not going to be able to play Swift or Chase, but I think those are really good plays. So whatever, I'll play it as a 5-pick. And there we go. I have my nice little 5-pick entry on Underdog. Or sorry, 3-pick entry on Underdog Fantasy. I mean, this play on Pacheco's crazy, right? Like, he is a huge underdog to score a touchdown. Minus 165, minus 169, minus 170. So that is the side you want to be on Underdog Fantasy. Anyways, let's go back to PrizePicks. We can also reload this. I mean, maybe there's some plays on the optimizer after I just spent a bunch of time talking about passing, player touchdowns. Maybe there's some other plays that we can go with. Can also look here. Anything at all. So we have, what do we want to go with? Wan'Dale Robinson over 4.5 receptions. You can see there's some other plays on Fliff. What I ended up locking in is we already went with Hopkins. Hopkins over 1.5 receptions, or over 4.5 receptions. I apologize. We got Zay Flowers under 19.5. Longest reception, Merrill Kelly under 16.5, and then Juju over 2.5, which we discussed. So anyways, we'll call it a day for now. I'll probably live stream later. But anyways, thank you so much for your time.